Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. As you can see behind me, the ice and stuff is finally starting to mostly melt. We still have quite a bit left, but we're starting to have warmer temperatures. You can hear the animals behind me. They're super happy that it's warmer. And we got some good news the other day that we get to share with you a little bit about Kimberly's medical journey that we feel is a major step. Most of y'all know that this has been a long journey and a very trying one and has had a lot of setbacks, but hopefully now we're making some progress that is going to be really good and that we'll have some great news to share with you. But like I said, before we get into that, I want to show you what we've been working on. Like I said, it's been super cold. We've been doing the bare minimum that we have to do outside because it was just so cold we couldn't do anything. So we started working in the little greenhouse and have made some major changes. Most of y'all have seen it before where it's been a mess and we had the cinder block set up, all the boards and all that. Well, we've started building some shelves. I'm fixing to show you a little bit of that, and then I'm going to let you see the finished product and what else is going on in there. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you can see our breath, yeah, it's still cold. We are in the little greenhouse, but something's going on with our heaters. They were burning just fine just a few minutes ago, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if there was air in the line or what's going on, but hopefully they fire back up because, like I said, still pretty chilly. About 50 degrees is what the thermometer says. I don't know if I trust that or not. But we are fixing to give this thing a makeover because y'all saw how it was before. It was a big mess with all the cinder blocks with the boards on top, and it just wasn't working out well. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually build some shelves that have hardware cloth on top and should be good stable shelves. I bought enough boards to build, I don't know, 4 or 5, but unfortunately I didn't think about getting the post for the legs for that, so I've only got enough for a couple. So we're going to see if we can get those knocked out because we've got a lot of big plans for this little greenhouse. Big transformation, a lot of stuff that we've never done before. We're going to give a try and see how it works out because who knows, we may like it a lot better and it may work out really well. But first things first, we got to get these shelves built because it's about time to start seedlings. And so we want to be ahead of the game this year instead of behind. So on these shelves, I'm going to make them where they're still manageable to move around. So I'm going to make them 8 foot long by 2 foot wide because I'm going to use hardware cloth on them, and our hardware cloth is 2 foot wide. So I may actually take it where it's just a little bit over 2 foot, or I might just make it right the same and just let it hang off the edge. I'm not sure yet. Probably just going to go with 2 foot even just because for math purposes that's easy. So since we're going to put our cross beams in between the long boards for the length, we're going to take 3 inches off of these to account for the sideboards so that it is 2 foot after that. So we're going to cut these at 21 inches so that they will all fit in, and I'm just going to go ahead and try to cut a bunch of these and get it done. I'm not sure. I'm kind of limited on width the way I'm set up, so I may cut one at 42 and then cut it in half and go from there just for the case. And then also we've got, I didn't want to drag out the jackery, so we've got extension cords stretched a pretty good ways, which is plenty for the lights, but the amps, the saw pulls, the lights will go off for a minute while we're cutting. So if it gets a little dark, that's what happened. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and cut this right here and go from there. Okay. Nobody scream. And now, what I'm going to do is cut 21 inches, and then I'm going to use a board to cut all the others just so I know that they will all be the same. If I was doing a bunch of these, I could make like a template or a jig or something so that I could just butt the boards up to it. But like I said, limited on space, and we don't have that many to cut, so I'm not going to go through that trouble. We are pulling some amps with this. Like I said, it's really not that bad. It's just the fact that we're so long on extension cords. And I also couldn't find any clear eye protection, so we're just hoping for the best on that too. Is that even on the end down there? Huh? Oh goodness, yeah, that's a big difference. Well, clearly our boards are not cut the same length, so I've got to hopefully this top one is at least 8 foot and the other one's just longer. Yeah, that's what it is. Can you grab us one of our short boards? We'll need the other one at the other end if you want to go ahead and take it down there.
I'm gonna help you.
Okay. We need us a shop, don't we?
Yeah.
Make building a lot easier. Okay. And we're using treated lumber, so hopefully it'll last for years. We're gonna flip this over and stand it up.
Oh, up.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yep, just like that. Then we're gonna take this one, set it on top. You just kind of balance it so it doesn't fall. So let's do this in first, since I'm already.
I'm gonna do this right.
Okay,
This end.
so this end is the one that needs to be flush now. Okay, so now I think what I'm gonna do is just here, take this all the way down. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so now our even points on the other side. You wanna grab that tape measure? Okay, what do you think, Abs?
I think it's good.
Okay, so now we gotta put here. Watch out! I'm gonna flip this and bring it to us because this is the top. So I think what I might do is go ahead and stretch out our wire and do it first, and then do the legs. Okay, so let's get this lined up and hopefully this goes well. Okay, so there's the tabletop. Now we just gotta get the legs put on there, and I think we'll be good to go. Okay, so we decided to make these 21 inches tall just because the way this greenhouse is and curves in, it'll give us should give us enough room for stuff to grow before it gets into the side, where we can use a decent size pots, even though I don't know how big of pots will actually go on this, but. And these are just some old posts we had that we're reusing, so that's why they look a little worse for wear. Okay, so like I said, still small enough that they're manageable, but big enough it'll hold some stuff. And then
I think that's a good height.
yeah,
Yeah, that's really good.
Because I thought about the way I was going to do it. If we need the more space, is doing another one, and we could do it where there are two, but I just don't know. If it's single pots, that might be quite the reach, but if it's trays where you can reach just this side and pull, then it won't be a big deal. But I think, let me measure. Yeah, because it'd be out to here.
Yeah, that's...
So it'd still leave, even if we did 4 foot on that, it's still a good walkway here.
Yeah.
Except for around the brooders. Getting around them would be the only thing.
Yeah.
And then it might be that we double up on one side and not the other, and then we still have a walk to get around the brooders. You can do what you need, walk on the other side just to go around them. But even like I said with 4, that's still going to hold quite a bit of stuff for seat starting, and so we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then still have the middle open for some other plans that we have in mind. Okay, so you saw the shelves. It's still a little bit of mess in here because we still have some more to build. I've got the boards cut for some, but we just didn't have time to get them done yet. But here's what the shelves look like built. We've got 2 so far. I've got this one over here. We figured out that there's actually enough room that we can run 2 here and then 2 on the other side, and there's still room to walk. But looky here, we have got some seedlings started. I mean, is it not kind of crazy that it's already time for seedlings to be started? Nothing's come up yet because we just got those done the other day. It's mostly cool weather stuff that we've done so far. We've got some broccoli, cabbage, collards. I don't know if we did any lettuce or not. Maybe some onions. I don't know. Quite a bit of different stuff, but we've got, I think it was 120 seedlings or trays or something like that. I'm not, no. It was 240. Yeah, we did 240 trays or little pots of seedlings. So still a lot to do. We haven't started our warm weather stuff like the tomatoes, peppers, and all that, but we figured it was time to go ahead and get this stuff started, because if not, it's going to be way too warm for this stuff to grow. So we wanted to go ahead and get that started at least. And I talked to y'all a little bit before about our brooders, how the flame was not touching all the way to the bottom. I was talking to my dad about it, and he said we might just cut the gas down a little bit on that, and I've done that, and that seems to be working well. But look at the temperature in here. It's like, I think 40 something outside, and we've got it 65 in here. We've had it also, too, where it's been a lot warmer in the daytime, because once the sun pops out, this thing heats up pretty good, and we don't have it opened up for ventilation yet, because at night it's still really cold. On this end, instead of doing an in wall, I just did a tarp. That way, whenever it does warm up, it's going to be easy for us to open up for ventilation, because this thing gets super hot when the sun comes out and the temperatures actually get up too. So we're supposed to have some warmer days. Hopefully it won't get too warm. If we have to, we'll open up the other door and let air in that way, but I don't plan on breaking this open until it actually gets a lot warmer. But that's where we are on this. Like I said, we still have a lot to do, but I'm super excited that things are going well. It's kind of crazy how different things in life kind of mirror each other. Like I said, we got some exciting things going on with the greenhouse and our future there, and also on Kimberly's health, which hopefully y'all will enjoy this update and kind of see how and why we're so excited about it, especially after the few little hiccups we've had. We're still happy with the hospital up there, but not so much with all the doctors, because there's been some disappointments with some of them. But overall, it's been a great process, and we actually are starting to see some progress. Like I said, we went up there, did a bunch of testing, and it almost seems like it's a setback, because it's like hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. Well, we finally are maybe getting past the wait part and going to figure something out, but fixing to hop to that, share that with you, and let you know exactly what's going on with that.
So we told you that in the last video we were waiting on a phone call back about the CT results from that CT that I had the very last day we were in Baltimore when we were flying home. Well, technically still waiting on that phone call. But I did call the office and was like, hey, what's going on? You know, I haven't heard anything, haven't seen anything in my chart. And, you know, I don't know if it's just different because it was technically like cardiac or what, but, you know, I was just calling to make sure everything is okay, because at this point it's making me a little nervous. And they were like, don't know what's going on, but we'll get in contact with the doctor and we'll let you know. It's like, okay, cool. Well, I called back, or they called back just a little bit later, and we're like, talk to him. He said that his PA and this other doctor is supposed to be calling you with the results, but it's going to be a little bit because she's out right now. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Well, thank you for getting me an answer.
Yeah, well, they said that she was out until next week.
Yeah.
The next week, which has been 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, we're kind of stuck, but maybe something will pop up in my chart in the meantime, because they didn't have an answer for that either, why it wasn't there. But she wasn't like, oh, there's an emergency. So, at least I guess that was okay. I think we told you that the day after we left the second appointment that we had up in Baltimore, I had sent a message on my chart to the PA for the original neurosurgeon, the Chiari neurosurgeon, just telling her kind of where we were at in the process, asking if she would kind of take a look at everything and kind of let me know, what their thoughts were on everything and kind of at what point they might want to get back involved. Didn't hear anything for a little bit, but it said it could be like 10 business days before somebody got back. And I was like, well, not really in a rush because I don't even have results. But it was funny that same day, and they're not in the same office.
Yeah.
She calls me and I was like, okay, this is completely out of the blue. And she was like, hey, what's going on? And, I laid everything out for her because she was like, tell me where you're at. Tell me what he said. Tell me what this was. All the different things. She's like, I'm looking at my chart right now. And she's like pulling up all my tests and everything. She's like, okay, well, that's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad. Okay. And she's like, so you're just waiting on this one? Yeah. Like, yeah. And she said, okay. She said, well, she's like, we'll kind of wait on that. We're going to talk to him and kind of figure things out. I was like, okay, cool. At least, she's back in our life, basically, because she's been the one, constant reassurance, helpful person up there.
She's stayed on top of everything.
Yeah. And I mean, everybody's been nice up there. I will say that, except for, the condescending one doctor we dealt with, but he's no longer in play. But everybody else has been super, super nice up there and super helpful anytime I've called. Just like I said, a little irritated having to wait on that one result. Well, a little bit later, guess what pops into my chart? It is the results from that test.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, they're here. So I start looking at it, and the report is unlike any of the others, I guess because it was cardiac. So the details were a lot different. But in there was a notation, and it was from that other doctor that the one who wanted that test done, had said was going to call me with the PA. And it said, normal study and, no stenosis found, which is, I guess, what they were looking for as a signal for, there was constant high pressure. And I was like, okay, cool. His name is on this. So, that means that, he's signed off saying that it's not a problem. And I got back in touch with the PA. And I was like, okay, I haven't gotten a call, but, this is what, they said, and this is what's on there. And she pulled it up. She's like, yeah. She's like, that looks fine. And she was encouraged about that. She's like, well, that's good. That means, it's not residual, just high pressure all the time. She said, the only thing is that with opening pressure, which mine was 22, which is on the high end, she said that is one picture of, just this one moment in time. She said, you could be, that could be, your highest point that you're ever at, or that could be your lowest point that you're ever at, or, whatever. She said, you could be riding on the low end of things, and then, for some reason you hit 22 and, that's crazy. Or you could be really, really high and that was a low moment. And I was like, oh, okay. We don't know these things. I mean, this is all new to us.
Learning a lot.
Yeah. So she was like, she said, personally, I think we need to talk about maybe doing the ICP monitor again. And I was like, okay. And she's like, for those reasons I've just explained. She's like, because, we need to see, where your pressure's at, whatever, before we can really move forward and do anything else. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, that's a step, that's somewhere. And I was like, so my next question was, okay, he mentioned when we met with him, y'all talked about the monitor, but then you also talked about surgery options. I was like, at what point does that discussion come back to the table and, that kind of thing? Because, we don't know.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's a really great question. She was like, I think that's something I need to talk to him about. And she's like, but I don't think it's unreasonable to, now that we're narrowing the field, to discuss that. She was like, she said that's would be logical next step if, this monitor doesn't show anything crazy. She was like, then that's where he would probably head. She's like, I'm not trying to speak for him or anything like that, but she's like, I generally know where his head's at on this.
Plus, also, our other thing is like, if all this other stuff is normal, we're just kind of like, what is the ICP monitor really going to do? Because I'm like, all these tests we've done have shown normal or within normal ranges, except for the one little high pressure thing. But when you were doing some research, it was like anxiety or stress or something could make that read higher, and she was very anxious going into this.
I was so anxious going into that myelogram just because I didn't know what to expect, and I was nervous. I knew it was going to hurt. I was worried about the patch and all this other stuff. The doctor who came in, who was, the one actually doing the test, he was like, you're nervous. And I was like, a little bit. And like, he sat and talked to me for like 10 minutes trying to like chill me out a little bit. And it was just, they all could tell I was nervous, and they're like, it's fine. I'm like, it's not fine. You're fixing to stick, a needle in my back. It's not fine. But
and plus it didn't help too, because at that point we were under the assumption, or the way that they had led it was that they were going to do that and you were getting a patch either way. And so it's like you had that to worry about too, because you don't think about being down for that and all that. There's just so much going on that we didn't know. That that was a stressful week. Plus we'd been there, having to be up there and gone, and it was a lot. And so then we're like, maybe that's just a high because of that. And then since all this waiting on these others, we're like, it's just a stressful thing of knowing, is it actually higher? Is it just because of that? And then finally, when we finally get them and they say they're normal, then we're like, okay, well, where does that leave us now? And then that's how we get back to this. And that's the reason I was just like, I don't really, until she explained a little bit, I didn't really fully understand what exactly the ICP monitor was going to do if all this other stuff said it was normal. And then that's where she had gone in and kind of explained about the therapist and stuff, that if you want to go into that.
So with the ICP monitor, like the neurosurgeon doesn't do the monitoring. It's a specialized neurologist. And she monitors every single daily activity while you're living in the hospital. So they will have to bore a hole somewhere, and it's close to the hairline from what I've read. It's just like a quarter-sized area, and they put this fiber optic monitor on, and then you basically live your life a day in the hospital.
I thought it was like 2 to 3 days.
Well, yeah, technically it's 2 to 3. She said if it's like completely normal readings or it's completely crazy, like all the time, then it'll probably be like 2 at the most. She said if it like jumps around a whole lot and it's not anything that they would consider normal, or one way or the other, that it would be a little bit longer. But she doesn't really know. She said it won't be over like 3 days though. But you basically just, you eat there, you sleep there. They monitor you during every single activity you would normally do. Coughing, bending over, reaching, showering. They may take you down to the therapy department, which I really want to see. And I told somebody that at work. And may make you walk on a treadmill. Anything that, since especially my issues tend to be exertional, she's like, I'm going to definitely request that she actually do some things with you so that we can get a good picture of, what's happening at that exact moment when that happens. But then this neurologist takes all that data and puts it all together, and that helps him determine, make sure that it's not some sort of mixed crazy picture of some other diagnosis that, you know, would not benefit from surgery. And then if everything lines up right and is, you know, fairly normal, because she said you're going to have spikes, you're going to have dips. She's like, a normal person does that. She's like, if you didn't have any kind of spikes or dips, that'd be kind of weird. But she's like, you know, the fact that you return back to a normal baseline, she's like, that's the main thing. But she said, as if pending all that, she said, then that would be okay, well, nothing else is going on, so let's put a plate in your head and, you know, support the cerebellum. So, I mean, that's at least reassuring that we kind of have a plan now. And it makes me feel less like we wasted that Baltimore trip.
Yes.
Because when we came back, neither one of us really knew how to feel about it. We were like, did we just waste all of this time, all of this money on going up there and, like, for nothing?
That was my biggest worry, was that we went through all of this trouble looking for answers, and then we were back to Arkansas with none.
Yeah.
And I just was like, don't tell me that we just did all this and we ended up with the same kind of junk we were getting here.
Yeah. No, I was really, truly worried about it. And because, I mean, especially too, you know, not having heard from the PA.
Because we weren't really so much waiting on her call
No.
as much as the other call that we still haven't gotten. But the thing was, we know that she stays on top of stuff. And so her sending the message was just kind of like a gentle nudge that, hey, we're still here. We've done everything y'all have asked, and we're just kind of waiting on what the next steps are. And so we still weren't expecting really to hear back from her until we'd heard back from the other people. But like I said, they decided it wasn't worth calling about.
Yeah, but she actually, I mean, it makes me feel better not feeling dismissed by them, because they do acknowledge, hey, there's still a problem. And then, I mean, in the middle of all this, she's like, how are you feeling? But yeah, the fact that she's still reassuring that they are not just discounting, you know, those normal tests. And she's like, okay, this is good. We've rolled this out. And I'm like, okay, cool. That just means that, you know, what she said back a month or so ago, whenever she and I were on the phone about when we were having to change our plans completely and go with this other route, when she was like, you know, if we come back in the picture, it's going to be a long time down the road. It's not so far off now, hopefully.
Yeah, because that was the thing, is that whenever we thought we were losing now, it's just like, oh no. And the other thing that was a little scary, and I was talking to Mom about this, because she was like, all these other ones we went to, whenever they ruled out that their stuff was normal, they're trying to send us to like the headache clinics and these other little things. And she's like, why would they be doing that? And I'm like, I'm guessing that normally it's not, this process is not done like this, where you start out with the neurosurgeon and work your way down. And so they're probably like, okay, we've checked off our list. This is our normal protocol, is to send them to this once we can't do anything for them. And we're like, that's not really why we're here. We're here for when you narrow this out, we're escalating back up. We're not de-escalating down to just trying to do symptom management. We're trying to figure out what the actual solution is. And I think that's what the disconnect was. Yeah. And why it felt kind of like they were just pushing us off, is that was probably, after I think about it, that was probably just their normal protocol. When somebody comes to their office, they're not normally dealing with a bigger issue. And so once they say, okay, well, you're good, well, this is who we normally send you to try to help, since you had nothing wrong that we could fix, rather than saying, okay, there's nothing here, you need to go back to them. Yeah. And so it's that's the only way that I can really think that maybe that's why they were doing what they were doing. And I'm hoping that that's what it was. It's just because that's what their normal protocol is with normal patients who are going there, not so much that the neurosurgeon is actually referring you them just to knock stuff off the list before they start doing something more. And so maybe feeling somewhat discounted after I got to think about it, maybe it wasn't as bad as what it seemed at the time, because at the time it's just like, oh, it's just like these others. Let's send you somewhere it's going to pop some pain pills or something, and you can just deal with it. But maybe that's just what their normal protocol is once they can't fix you, that's where they send you to, because most people aren't getting sent back up to neurosurgery for neurosurgery once they rule out this other stuff. And so that's the way I'm thinking about it, at least for this middleman. Like I said, the last one, I don't really know. And that was the other thing.
So
Oh.
she asked me how that visit went because she was curious about the instability issue. And I said, funny story about that. And I explained how everything went down and how, I'd gone through all the lengthy, explanation of all my symptoms and everything. And then he comes in and he was like, well, I was just here to fix a leak if there was a leak. And your instability, it's not really unstable. And I told her about the x-rays and everything. And she was like, that is not why you got sent there. I was like, she said, I sent you there to check for the instability. I was like, oh, I know that. And you know that. I was like, but he didn't know that. And she's like, okay. She's like, well, he's clearly not going to fuse anything. Doesn't think that that's the biggest issue. So she was like,
moving right along.
Yeah.
Yes, I think what happened there is that he got to talking to the doctor in the middle, and they had a whole different plan than what
where
the main doctor where it started. And so I think things might have got lost in translation there. But either way, we're past that point.
Yeah, and she told me too, and she was like, I've got to talk to him. She's like, and see, what he thinks and, where, what he wants to do as far as like planning this and to see if, what I have in my head is truly what he actually has in his. She's like, because, usually we're on the same page with everything. But she's like, it could be that you are you have had, she said, we know that it showed some slight instability. She said, obviously not enough to do anything with. She's like, but if you're also having the Chiari issue, she said, well, then it could be that maybe those two things are working together. But if you remove one thing from the equation, the Chiari issue, put the plate in there where the cerebellum's actually getting the support, it's not bearing down, and it's not causing the issue, and the bit of instability that you're experiencing won't be an issue anymore. And I was like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, so the thought is maybe both problems are compounding each other. And so I guess it'd almost be like whenever somebody has like a knee or hip problem where the other one's overcompensating. And so it makes it where it's worse. And then once they get one fixed, the other one doesn't hurt as much because it's not having to work for both anymore.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering if that's the analogy I think about, just hearing how well, you talked in like dad stuff and everything, and just how everybody that have those things, they're like, oh, it's so much better now. So I'm like, that's the way I'm thinking, is like maybe that by removing that, it's going to make the other one not have to work as hard or something like that, and it's going to fix it. But
she is going to talk to him, but I will grab him and we will talk about you and try to figure out an actual plan and get something where you come back up here. And she said, hopefully, she said, if I'm thinking right, then what I feel like he's probably going to want to do is that monitor and go ahead and set up a plan for surgery. And if the monitor shows something crazy, like we talked about before, we cancel that, focus on the other. But she's like, if it doesn't show anything, it would point more toward, we need to do this and we can try to fix this. And I was like, okay, that is something. I mean, this is finally, hopefully moving in the direction that we've hoped for what? I mean, a long time, almost a year. Well, no, it has been about a year now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Because it's been about a year since I went back to the original surgeon and told him I was having problems.
Well, yeah, because it was like almost a year after.
Yep. It was.
Well, no, it was before that.
It was January, February.
Yes.
Of last year, whenever I went back to him.
And then we started with the other one in May or June.
Yeah.
That didn't help.
Yeah, so it's been literally a year coming to this point. So really, really hoping and praying that, something turns up with this and maybe I can finally get some relief.
Yeah, because we
wonderful.
Still don't have any real for sure answers, but like I said, we got that little speck of hope.
Yes.
That things are going in the right direction. Actually, it's probably just more than just a little. I mean, it's just like probably whenever we were getting the news from the other doctors, it was like hope was dwindling down, and now it's like it's going up again. I mean, it's becoming a little brighter, and hopefully soon we'll actually know something. At least what's going on. I mean, I know that even once they get the plan figured out, we still aren't going to know if it works until after it's done.
Yeah.
But at least I'm just glad we found somebody that's taking it seriously and not just saying, tough luck, deal with it. The original surgeon is just like, pretty much like, deal with it.
Yeah, you're better than you were. It's fine.
Yeah,
I'm actually not now, though. So
yeah, because that was the thing, is that his main thing was like, pretty much like, don't sweat the small stuff. Just be happy that it's better. But like I said, as it got better, but then it got worse. But he just didn't want to hear that, I don't think. But he didn't even do any more imaging or anything. So I mean, he had no intentions of doing anything else. No.
But I mean, I'm just glad we're away from these Arkansas surgeons now, and that the great team at Hopkins is actually focusing back on it now. The ones that we actually started with and really, really wanted, the ones that we picked.
Yes.
Because, I mean, seriously, it took a lot of thought and prayer, and it's actually not the original surgeon that I thought that I was going to have. Fun fact. But from everything I've been reading, I think he's better. So
well, that was the thing, is whenever she sent everything up there, it was all for this one doctor, and then whenever they came back and said we can schedule an appointment with this other one, that's when I'm like looking. I was like, are we sure we want to? So she started researching him, and then he, like I said, I think his reviews for stuff like this are even better than the other. I mean, both are great, but I think we made the right choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's got glowing reviews for all of the complex stuff, which is exactly what I need, because she keeps reiterating how much of a complex case I am.
She may be a study someday.
It's very possible. Who knows?
But the other thing is, we also know that although he is a surgeon and maybe a great one, he's not a miracle worker.
Exactly.
So there is always the chance that they do this and it doesn't fix it.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to think like that, but we have to be realistic.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That's where y'all come into. We need all y'all's prayers.
Absolutely.
That all this stuff moves forward well. We know y'all been praying a lot for us, and we really appreciate that.
Yes,
but if you will just keep them coming, because they do work, and hopefully soon we'll be giving y'all an update about what's actually going to be going on.
Yeah.
And then hopefully after that, it'll be like, she's all better.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Would be absolutely wonderful. I can't even imagine what that would be like.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just trying to think about like how you were before the first surgery. And like I said, it was so nice right after you had it when you did get better for the few months, and then back to worse than what you were. And so I'm like, would we have been better off to not have ever done the first one? But I mean, you can't go back and change that. No. So now it's just looking forward and seeing if we can't fix it and move forward. And that's where we're at.
Yep.
But that's about all the news we have on this one. And hopefully soon, like I said, we'll be giving you another update that's going to be, I don't know, a lot bigger than what this one is. Because like I said, this is some great news. And like I said, it gives us that little bit of hope we need to keep moving forward and keep trying in this process and keeping our hope up that we haven't wasted our time and all that. So, but that's pretty much all the update we have for you this time. We appreciate all your thoughts and prayers, and we'll catch you next time on Grounds Family Farm. Bye.
Bye, guys.